Welcome back to the Haven Homestead Podcast, where we learn and grow together on our way to living more sustainable lives. My name is Chris, and this is episode 21. Today we're going to be talking about loofah sponges, about growing your own loofah. It's a plant, in case you didn't know, and we're going to talk all about it. Before we get to talking about the loofah plant and all of its many uses, I want to remind you about havenhomestead.com, which is our website, where you can find out all about us and our past episodes, what we're doing here on the homestead, what classes are up and coming. You can sign up for the newsletter that Lindsay puts out every quarter to let everybody know what we're doing and how we're helping everybody live more sustainable lives. Also, if you've listened to the episodes and they're been useful to you, if you found some useful information to help you live a more sustainable life, then please come visit us on at patreon.com/havenhomestead and become one of our patrons. Support the show and support the work we're doing here on it. Well, that's enough of the verbal abuse, so we're going to get right into Luffa. So Luffa is the Luffa aegyptiaca, I believe is how it's said. And I was reading the stuff about it on Mother Earth News. Had a good page on it, or article on it, but the article, and I know it's probably just as relevant then as it is now, but it came out before I was born. It's a little bit older. I'm 34, but it came out in 1981, so that was kind of a long ago article, but I think all of the information is still relevant. Maybe not when she says what prices you can get out of the loofah. And then the other one I found was on, of course, Wikipedia. And Wikipedia is kind of a take it with a grain of salt, but they've got some good information on there. What I was getting at as the reason why it's Luffa aegyptiaca is because it was discovered in Egypt in the 17th century. The name Luffa was, it says here on Wikipedia, the name Luffa was taken by European botanists in the 17th century from the Egyptian Arabic name Luf. So, it's a very useful plant, and I would suggest going to, just if you type in Luffa, and I can put the link, I'll put the link at the end of the show notes for the Mother Earth News article, but if you just put down, growing loofah or loofah plant or something like that in your search engine, then that article will come up for the Mother Earth News, and you'll be able to find out all this that I'm going to talk about, except for our personal experiences. So let's talk a little bit about the plant itself. So there's lots of uses. It has, edible flowers. It has the fruit, which are like from the cucumber family. So they look kind of like big cucumbers. You can make sponges out of it. You can make dishcloths. You can use it for strainer. And there's a lot more uses, but those are just some of the ones that I put down. So what it looks like is it grows on a vine just like most squash plants. And because it grows on a vine, in Japan, it's used as a, it can be used anywhere, but this is traditionally in Japan, it's used as a shade that you grow in front of a window so that it grows up during the summer and makes a natural shade for the window so that it can block out the direct sunlight and reduce the heat of your house. I think that's a really good double use, one for the fruit and then one for the shade. I think that's really clever. The fruit on it they call it gourds, at least it did in the Mother Earth News article, and they say they get 1 to 2 feet long. So they get rather large, but the fruit grow quickly from what I gather, but the vines grow slowly. They need 150 to 200 days to make full maturity. So if you live in the north where it's cold, you might not have a long enough growing season unless you start them in like February or March. And we didn't get our seeds until the beginning of May. So our plants are still pretty small. Here it is the beginning of June, and our loofah plants are only a couple inches tall. So I don't know if we're going to get any fruit off them this year, if we're just going to have to try again next year. But we'll see at the end of the season, and I'm hoping that I can get a video up about what they look like and more about them at the end of the season. But for now, they're just little 2-inch tall plants. Now the loofah plant itself has both male and female flowers on it. The female flowers will set the fruit. They'll grow up behind it like any other squash, if you're familiar with squash plants, or gourds, or any for that matter, melons for that matter. But the male flowers just open to pollinate the female flowers, then they fall off the plant. So the male flowers can be used for battering and frying and making dishes that way, so it doesn't go to waste. And some countries, that's like something that they plan on using. I think they might grow it, for that as part of it. And also when they get the small, if you want to eat the fruit fresh or cook it up in dishes, then you'll want to get it when it's like small, less than 4 inches. So you have to catch it pretty quick. The fruit, according to Mother Earth News article, grows really, really fast. Like they said, 1.5 inches a day. So if it can grow 1.5 inches a day, then you better catch it in a couple days from when the fruit starts growing. Because if you want to catch it when it's under 4 inches and cook it up, then you're going to have to be on your toes. But as they say, the best fertilizer for a garden is the gardener's shadow. So if you spend time and just watch your plants, I think you'll be able to stay on top of it. We're going to plant ours out probably today. Out on we have kind of a hill next to our house, and we're going to plant our loofah sponges out there and see how that works out. Really have anything growing there but grass, and so I think that might be a good thing, and hopefully the grass doesn't give it too much trouble. The loofah plants will grow fast enough and to take care of the grass around it. But I guess they're kind of growing it on the lawn, so to speak. But we'll just see how it works. If it doesn't work, then we'll try something different next year. Now, because they're vines, they like to climb as well. So if you don't provide something for them to climb on, then they'll sprawl out. But if you have something there, then they'll climb up it, like a trellis or something. One year, I bought a cattle panel for that very purpose. And so you can stake both ends of the cattle panel. It's a thick wire made into a grid. Some people call them a hog panel or something like that. And you put one in the ground, put one side anchored into the ground, and then bring the other side up, and it will start to bow. And when you get to how high you want the bow to be, then you stake that end down as well. And so you just kind of makes its own hoop. It works really well for blackberry vines. Our blackberries sure like it, although I don't like them, so I just end up ripping them off of there. They get an earlier start than most other things, but they like it. And when you pick that fruit, like I said, under 4 inches, then you can use it as a substitute for zucchini or squash, or you can eat it fresh in like a cucumber in salads, or fry it up, cook it. There's a lot of places that use it, and it's all called something different. It seems like in every country, like Vietnam or India, or let's see, what are some of the other places it says on here? Japan, China, Philippines, Korea, a lot of Asian, Myanmar. There's a lot of countries and places, and they all cook it a little bit different. So I suppose you can cook it about any way you want. The main reason that we're growing it isn't for the fruit to eat, but for it to be made into a sponge. So what you do is you let it grow really big, as big as you can let it grow, I guess. And then you let it either dry on the vine, or you take it off and let it dry in the house, or anyway, let it dry out, maybe like put it in a dehydrator, I don't know. Whatever you need to do to make it dry. So once it's all dried out, what you want to do is put it back into water, and the loofah will will expand in the water. It'll soak up all the water and expand, and then you can go ahead and it will crack the skin, and you can just take the skin right off the outside. And that's the easiest, a little more time consuming because you have to let it dry out, then soak it, but rather than just peeling it off. But I think that with all good things, it takes a little bit of time. So you put it in there, it expands up, it cracks all the skin. You just peel all the outside skin off and shake out all the seeds. You can cut it then into the sizes of sponges that you want, and then shake all the seeds out, and you have your scrubby. You can also soak it in like a little bit of bleach, like teaspoon per gallon of water or something like that, and it will make the sponges turn white. But they also said that they think that it's also reduced the life of the sponges. So I'd just be aware of that and use caution if you're going to try to bleach your sponges. The brownish color of the sponge isn't a bad thing. I think it looks more, it looks more natural, and that has its own beauty to it. With that, when you make a sponge, you can also use it for bathing or for anything else that you need to scrub something with. The last use we're going to talk about with the loofah sponges or the loofah plant products is you can sell it. So we were looking on Facebook, Etsy. I've got the Facebook here in front of me on where things I'm supposed to post to. We were looking at Etsy and eBay and all the different stuff, and their prices are really all over. You can find the cheap ones for 10 for $1 or something, and I'm sure they come from China, or you can buy ones online that are more expensive, like $8 for 14-inch one or 12-inch slice or piece. So, and I also saw 15 seeds for just under $9, like $8.76 or something. So that's you could sell the seeds, you could sell the baby gourds, squash, whatever, baby loofahs for eating at like a farmer's market, or you can let them grow up and sell the sponges, for whatever. If you have a place that maybe makes handmade soap, then you could sell these homegrown loofah slices. I think that would be the ideal thing with the soap. So it's kind of a value add, or sell soap or sell the loofah with the soap. Either way, as kind of a value add. I think that would be a really nice option to make a little extra money, because a sustainable homestead, sustainable living, is about financial sustainability as well. And all those little projects that you're doing, all those streams of income, and all those things that you're trying to make help on your overall sustainability. And that's really what it's all about, is becoming more sustainable for yourself, so there's less you have to rely on other things and other people. For our experience, now I'll share some of our experience with growing loofah, is the seeds will germinate at a vastly different rate. So we've had seeds, we put all the seeds in the pot at the same time, and some sprouted, within a couple weeks, and some sprouted 3 weeks later than the first ones that started to sprout. So there's a big difference in germination rates with the loofah seeds that we've found, at least from wherever we got our seeds or whatever stock it came from. But that's what we found with that's our findings on our first year of growing loofah plants. The vines are also slow growing. I think they need more root space than we're giving them. We're trying to grow them in little starter pots, and our starter pots are egg cartons. We've taken paper egg cartons and then put potting soil in there, and then put the loofah seeds in the spot. And so when we're ready, we can just cut the little egg carton piece out and break the bottom out and stick it all right into the dirt, and then the egg carton will just disintegrate. Our vines, like I said, seem to be slow growing. We planted our beans and our our squash or our loofah at the same time, and the beans are over a foot tall, and the squash or the loofah are like an inch and a half, 2 inches. So, and some are just barely even coming up as sprouts. So they take a little bit of time to grow. Also, when we looked at the instructions, this is the last thing that we've learned from ours. When we looked at the instructions, they said that you should soak the seeds to speed germination, but we haven't noticed any difference between seeds soaked and seeds not soaked. So I don't know how much difference it makes, but it didn't seem to make any difference to us. So that's just our 2 cents. If you grow loofah, I'd really like to hear from you. And at havenhomestead.com, go to the podcast section, and on this show, please tell me about your growing loofah, and tell me, what you found that works, and I'll help everyone else. I'll mention it on one of the next episodes, and we'll help the community grow stronger through each other's input. Also, if you have any comments on any of the other episodes, then please comment at the bottom of that episode. And I'd really like to hear about power outages too, about what they do when the power goes out, if it's anything different. We were able to teach a youth group at church. There were just the young women, and we were able to teach them about 72-hour kits and a little preparedness sort of stuff just last Wednesday. And it was really neat to see how the young people today are, I think because of the way that they're more prepared, well, in some cases, they're a little more prepared, a little more, less normalcy bias. And that's totally case by case, because it just depends on the group. We live kind of in the country, so maybe I think that millennials or the youth are sillier than they actually are. But I was really impressed with some of their 72-hour kits that they had put together, and then there were the other ones who had absolutely no idea what I was talking about. So I guess this is kind of the way it is even with adults. Is you'll find that same situation, both people on both ends of the spectrum. But I'd like to hear what you do when the power goes out on the power episodes, and how you've made your kits, and any other stuff. If you've raised rabbits or chickens or bartered for some really neat things, or I was just out cutting rhubarb stalks off and thinking about how I had traded a rabbit for a rhubarb plant, and the guy that was getting the rabbit and giving me the rhubarb, he was like, "You sure this is are you okay with that deal? Seems like I'm kind of getting, off easy." And I was like, "No, I'm going to be using this rhubarb for years and years. Your rabbit's only going to last 1 or 2 meals." So it was a good trade. On both of us felt like we got the better end of the deal. So anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this episode and it's been useful to you. Like I said, please visit us at havenhomestead.com, and please consider becoming our patron at patreon.com/havenhomestead. Once again, this has been the Haven Homestead Podcast, where we learn and grow together on our way to living more sustainable lives. Thanks for listening.